Morning, buddies. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for giving this episode a chance. And if you're a returning guest, welcome back. And if this is your first time, I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do all the time. All right, so today's episode, I speak with retired Lieutenant Colonel Craig Haggard. He is running for District 57 for state rep, and he's doing his campaign right now, so I thought I'd have him on to talk about who he is as a person. So in this episode, he talks about his military career when he used to fly planes and stuff, and also some leadership, and he talks about stuff that he's learned so far in politics. I really enjoyed my conversation with him. I really wish him the best, and I hope that you enjoy this episode as well. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning to come here and talk with me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is all sort of new to me.
That's perfectly okay. At least you came to the right show, at least.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and tell the audience about who you are. So what's like, where are you from, and where'd you go to school, and then your career?
Okay. Not too far from here. Grew up in Waverly area. Went to Mooresville High School. And graduated from there, went to Hanover College down in southern Indiana. And from there, I had fulfilled my life stream, at least partially, and was commissioned in the Marine Corps as a second lieutenant. And went on to Quantico and TBS, then to flight school. And it was cool. It's one of those things where you, even though you're serious and you, I'm supposed to be serious.
Pull that mic in a little bit closer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can pull it towards you. There you go. Perfect.
Supposed to be serious and you're like a Marine and whatever, but every time we get something cool, like when we first got issued our flight suit or our jackets, you're wearing it around going, man, I'm cool. You didn't say that out in the open, but you thought, hey, this is my life's dream as a kid. It's not Halloween. I'm not dressing up. I'm actually wearing this thing. And so I went to Pensacola after I got out of TBS, and then I went to Corpus Christi Naval Air Station, where I flew T-34s and then was number one in my class and was selected jets. And then so I was given jets, and I went to Naval Air Station Kingsville, Texas, where I trained and actually flew the A4 and then had a real bad accident. So we'll talk later, but yeah, I've had a lot of goofy physical accidents. But anyway, started over again because the A4 was going away, and actually then flew T2. Oh, I flew T2 Buckeyes first, then I flew A4s, hurt, and then T45s. Anyway, and then we did our carrier quals. So I did my first carrier qual on the USS Kitty Hawk, and we land with the tail hook and stuff.
Oh my God, you did that?
Yeah, we had to.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
As a naval aviator, you had to, as a jet pilot, you had to have 10 traps. That's what you called every time you hit the cable. So, and then USS America was the one when I was flying T45s. Did the traps, got my soft wings, which is basically your last flight. You get your wings on your uniform. Then there's official winging ceremony. The cool thing about that, and this is totally side story stuff, but when I came off the flight and came up to the ready room, and I think I have a picture on my Facebook, but Mr. T was there. I'm not making it up. You can actually see the picture on my Facebook page. And a tradition we had back in the day, and I don't know if it's still a tradition because we were old guys, and the winging, we actually would leave the backs off the wings and we'd punch each other in the chest. And, you get bruises and all that. And I was trying to get Mr. T to punch me in the chest, and he wouldn't. And I got to say, he was the nicest guy in the world.
Really?
I mean, he was very humble. He happened to be in town for a Tough Man competition that he was emceeing, and he was getting the VIP tour. So he just happened to be there. But he did finally tap me on the chest with his fist. I can say that Mr. T punched me in the chest in a good way. So anyway, after I did that, I was selected to fly AV-8B Harriers. That was the vertical takeoff jet. And then did world operations, different positions in the squadron. And I was in combat in Serbia and Kosovo, and flew off ships and things like that. And so very great career, mostly good. Obviously, there's always bad things, lost some friends. But when I left the Marine Corps, I came back to Indiana and was active duty with the Indiana Air National Guard. I flew F-16s out of Terre Haute, and then I was also commander of the range down at Camp Atterbury, the air-to-ground gunnery range, for about 11 years, and retired as a lieutenant colonel. And during that time, kind of crazy, but I was kind of entrepreneurial my whole life, and I actually had a construction company while I was in the military and built a couple homes a year, but '08 happened, that went away. And also during that time, when I came back from doing a lot of the humanitarian stuff that we did in the Marine Corps, I wanted to do more, and I was at the time at the First United Methodist Church in Mooresville, and went to what do they call that, a mission conference or something, and met a person, and then started well, I first went as a participant down to central Mexico. It was called, at the time, Friends of Conali. It had changed to Friends of Hidalgo. But we went down to basically put in concrete floors. And I saw that we'd raised all this money. I went down there and thought that it was sort of inefficient. And the next year I took it over, and then I ran it for about 11 years and continued to do missions. And it expanded to hiring locals, bringing down doctors, giving food, doing chimneys, because there was an issue with respiratory issues down there because of burning fires in their little shacks. And anyway, just all sorts of stuff. And that was very fulfilling. But it taught me, you think you're going to do that stuff and you, I'm going to feel great about myself, this, that, but you actually start to realize I don't do enough and I could do more, and that whole sort of thing. Anyway, that kind of, after I quit doing that and when I retired, from there, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, talk to some folks, and people that I had met down in Mexico doing this work happened to be in politics time. Now, I'm not to politics yet, but he was in politics. Another gentleman that I'd helped out with the Boy Scouts happened to be a lobbyist downtown, and there was an open position with the NRA Foundation, the non-for-profit side. And I went and met with him, and actually then became, after a little bit of a process, the field rep for Indiana for the National Rifle Association. And that's the non-for-profit side that mostly raises money through Friends of NRA events, then to raise money to give away grants. And half of that stayed in the state. And we were averaging $500,000 to $750,000 to give away in the state. And that went toward a lot of stuff: Boy Scout, shooting sports, 4-H shooting programs, training programs, school shield program, where we had actually Secret Service and FBI agents would go into schools, do evaluations, and say, okay, here's the recommendations. And then you could then give grants to those schools for different safety things, training stuff, single father or no father hunting programs, or even just fun programs for kids without fathers, or programs for veterans with PTSD that would go hunting or be on a ranch for a certain kind of sports. So all the good stuff about the NRA, you always hear about the political fighting, but it was a great program. And then left the NRA, and I have some home-based business stuff now that kind of along the way, some stuff in my county, we do some import stuff. And the whole time I was doing this, I was helping out with politics. And especially one gentleman that I met down there, I helped him with his race back in the past. And I always said, I never want to be a politician. And for all the reasons that everybody says, probably I don't want to be a politician. But I did enjoy serving, and as cheesy as it sounds, I love serving my country. I love serving when I was with the NRA, because I felt like I was still doing something through training and education, and not in the political sense, but planting those seeds of people and kids that were trained properly, that believed in the Second Amendment. And so I wanted to serve, but I was friends with my current state representative, and I was not going to run against her. I was not going to just put myself out there, I thought at the time, because I thought, okay, this isn't the right moment. But then I was approached last fall when they were redistricting the area because of the census, and somebody had asked me to run, and I went back, talked to my friends, my family, and decided to run for the position. And I always like to say I wasn't a politician, but I guess I am now. I'd like to say not the kind that you don't like, but I am a new politician. I'm learning a lot of stuff, meeting a lot of great people, and that's kind of the short story of who I am. I'm married. I have 4 kids, and I know, right?
4?
4. The oldest one, he's a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps. He's actually going to graduate this month from Baylor Law School. He's a JAG. Wow. And his fiance is actually giving birth next month, so I'll be a grandpa.
Congratulations.
Thank you, which is pretty cool. My oldest daughter is a senior at Purdue and was hired by a company in Denver. So a couple weeks ago, we were in Denver looking for an apartment for her. So that was a very emotional time for me to be losing my baby girl. And then my youngest daughter, Elena, she's actually adopted from Russia. And she's actually a freshman at IUPUI. And then our youngest son, who's autistic and has an amazing story, did not speak in the first years of his life, and now he's taking astrophysics STEM classes from Purdue on the weekends, and he's going to UND next year for physics.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
So this yeah,
Wow.
he talks about things I have no idea. I'm just a country boy, Marine pilot kind of guy that, I learned enough. And people say, well, you flew fighter jets. Don't you know that math? I'm like, well, I can tell you the cosine of an angle is the negative G you put on a bomb when you release it. But that's about the extent of my math knowledge.
Wow. That's an incredible intro right there. So you talked about the redistricting for District 57.
Right.
So what areas does that cover around here?
So District 57, and I had and that is still one of the biggest questions I get even up to now. So I actually carry a large map around with me in the truck so I can show people. But it is starting with the westernmost Guilford Township in Hendricks County, which is basically Plainfield. And it extends all the way over in Plainfield to, I think that's Ronald Reagan Parkway. But so that section of mostly old Plainfield and a lot of neighborhoods there off 70, down into Brown Township, which is Mooresville, and northern Madison, which is Canby area, and then all the way over to Johnson County, which is northern White River Township, which is, let's see the boundaries, Olive Branch up to County Line, 37 over to Honey Creek.
Okay.
And that's the new district.
Wow. That's pretty close to where I work at. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So why are you getting in? Why are you wanting to run for rep?
I think with a lot of people right now, I think a lot of people are frustrated and disappointed and upset with the way our country's going and our state's going. And I guess just like with everything else I've done, I want to make a difference. I think I'm the right guy to do it. And I don't think that I'm not going to say I'm going to go in, I'm going to change these 10 things, and I guarantee it, because there's 150 people at the State House. And I'm one of many, but I would like to think that, especially after this election, more and more constitutional people with Midwest values can get in there. And Indiana I think is a great state. It's why I came back to live here. I love the area. My kids graduated from the same high school I did because I like the people, I like the area, and I think Indiana's a good state. But I do think that everything good still can be improved upon. I think that I see people in the state that want to take us the wrong direction. I think there are some things I'm not happy about that have been proposed or vetoed, this last veto, and all these other stuff in the state that I am upset about. So I want to keep Indiana a good state. I want to improve on stuff we could do, and I want to protect us from some of this federal stuff that's coming down that I don't believe most families in this state believe in. And I don't think most families, Republican or Democrat, believe in some of the stuff coming down from D.C. Because at the end of the day, Democrat or Republican, I'm a Republican, but I've spoken to a lot of people of different parties. And even if we disagree on a little bit, they're good parents, they work hard, they love their kids, they love their town, they love this country, which amazes me these days. To say you love your country is a bad thing in parts of this country, which I can't even wrap my head around. And I see stuff like that, and I thought, it's a perfect time. I'm blessed to be able to have the time to run for the office, and so I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to make a difference. I'm going to try to do the best I can do. I'm going to try to use my life history of experience with living in different places, meeting diverse and different people, and having to constantly change plans because things go wrong, and be reactive, and try to use all that experience to apply that to the State House. And because I like hearing, I don't want to be around folks all the time that just agree with you. That's why I've met with so many different groups. And I had some people ask me, why are you meeting with those groups? Well, because those groups live in my area, and they're still people, and they're still Americans, and I still represent them, and they're good folks. We may not agree on everything, which is fine. I don't agree on everything with my wife. I don't agree with everything with family members, but we still love each other. They're still good people. And I can't remember the exact quote from Ronald Reagan. I think was it 80 or 70% of the people vote with you or agree with you that amount of the time, they're still good friends. So, and I think people have lost that. Let's fight, let's duke this thing out in the election. But when we're done, we should do what's best for Hoosiers, or we should do what's best for American citizens. And that part bugs me. I think it was in the 2 presidential races ago, where one of the guy who won as president, I think it was a famous line. I'm probably gonna screw it up. We won, you lost. Get over it. And then from then on, it seems like everything's been so polarized all over the country, instead of working together and then using things like saying, I don't think you can see it in here, but the flag on the wall, well, that's a bad thing. Or
I wonder if you can. I don't think. Oh, barely. Right up
barely see the flag. These things that I was proud of and fought for in towns with the flags everywhere and stuff that is not a hateful thing at all. As a matter of fact, it's like the beacon, the welcoming flag for people all over the world to come here to live that American dream, and somehow that's a bad thing now. Like I said, I don't want to see this state go that way, and I don't want to see our country go that way. So that's all those reasons is why I'm running. I want to hopefully I can make a difference. I'm going to do the best I can, and all I've asked of people is tell me what bothers you, tell me what you believe in, and tell me when I do something that you think is stupid. Because to be honest with you, I'm probably anybody that tells you they're not going to mess up, I think are basically just lying to you, because I probably will mess something up, but I'm that person that can evaluate why I messed it up, what I did, admit that mistake, and do better, and go to people. I thought during this process, my core beliefs have stayed the same. But when somebody said, hey, specifically, what do you think about this law and this and this? And I said, well, what I think about it is this. And then when I dove into that law and talked to some other people and actually read, it's good at the face, but there's some, a lot of laws have little things added to them that need to be fixed that are bad. So I still believe in the premise of this or that. But yeah, it needs to be cleaned up. And I've gone back to those people. It's like, well, I believe this, but I think that it can do better. And I don't mind changing that opinion. It's not that I'm flip-flopping on my core beliefs. I'm flip-flopping on information given me. So I've been very careful to, when asked those specific gotcha questions, what do you think about House Bill 1234556? I'm like, well, by the name of it and on the face, this is what I believe. I can't tell you specifically. I've not read the law. But I always fall back on my core beliefs, and that's what I hope people will understand about me is I've lived my life a certain way. Good and bad, positives and negatives, learned from my mistakes, and I think I've done a lot of good stuff. And I hope that I'm not just out there saying, hey, I'm a patriot, hey, I'm this, hey, I'm a fighter, because I have done all those things. And probably not perfectly, but I've learned a lot of stuff from that, and I hopefully will take that experience that I've learned from and that I have done, and people will see that and understand, at least I can base my vote on, what he's done. Because I'm not just trying to say things that I don't believe in, if that makes sense. So.
It makes total sense.
So.
What makes you the better option over your opponent who's running for that district, District 57?
I don't even, I hate getting into that person's bad, this person's good. I think what makes me a great candidate and probably better is that my entire life has been not only serving others, but also leading others. From early moments in high school to college, where I held different positions, to civilian life as administrative person for 10 years on the board, head trustee, leader of Marines, commander down at the range, small business owner, father of 4. I have that experience in multiple lanes. Some of the small business I have, I do some import. I have a storage facility. I still volunteer for things. I remember we helped start the Pregnancy Care Center in Mooresville, which I know is closed down there and moved on, but that was an alternative to abortions. It's offering young women who either don't have the knowledge or the money or things like that to say, hey, we'll help you out. So I've done that sort of stuff. Anytime I've had the opportunity, even if I didn't know exactly what was going on, I try to jump in and help and then learn from that situation. I'm very inquisitive. I ask questions. I admit when I don't know what's going on, and I usually stop people. Hey, I don't want to assume anything. Will you tell me, talk to me, and let me figure this out? And I'm not afraid to say when I've made mistakes. So I think I'm a person that would go to the State House with a set of solid values and leadership and use those experiences in life to really listen, not make assumptions, find out about a bill, and stand up for what I believe in. And I think a lot of people I've heard, oh, you're going to go up there and you'll just vote with them or vote with that. I disagree with folks all the time. There's been a couple groups I've met with that have given me endorsements that I debated and disagreed with because I wasn't going to compromise my values. I said, well, and I went back afterwards to one of my mentors in this whole campaign and said, well, I'm probably not going to get that endorsement. I didn't agree with them. And I ended up getting the endorsement. And I would like to think it's because they respected me enough to know that I wasn't just going to say what they wanted to hear to get the endorsement. But they could still talk to me. They could still reason with me. And so I think for all those reasons, I will make and this has been the toughest part because in the beginning I would just say, oh, here's my career. And I'd move on and people would say, oh, you got to talk about yourself more. And that is kind of weird. I don't think most folks like to get up and say, hey, man, I'm really cool. Vote for me. Look at me here. This is awesome. Hey, my hair looks good in this picture. That's weird for you, right? Sorry, no hair jokes with you.
Thank you. No, I make hair jokes. I don't care. I'm bald. I just got called Mr. Clean the other night.
Well, Mr. Clean is a fairly svelte kind of guy, so that's a compliment, right?
Well, I don't know. She goes, you look like Mr. Clean, and she came up and like rubbed my head and kissed it, and I was like, I don't know what to do right now because
I almost feel like I need to hear the rest of the story with that.
It was just weird. I was just like, all right. I said, hey, keep buying my cleaning products. Like, I guess they're working for you. But what is a quality that you find extremely important for somebody running in politics?
I think a big quality is somebody who will shut the heck up and listen. Because I've seen back when I was helping out, I would see some politicians come to a thing and, hey, we're, Senator, Congressman so-and-so speaking at the luncheon today. They would come in, you would try to talk to them. You could tell they weren't listening to you, and their handler or whatever would shove them along. You're like, okay, never mind, I'll talk to you later. And they would get up there and they would speak to you or at you and not with you, and then you'd think there were some questions, and then they would bug out. And I hate that. And to me, it was like it's not really serving the people. Everybody who has Facebook messaged me or sent emails through the website that I get, I've answered back. I've given my phone number out. I've gone to meet these folks because I really do care. And I figure if they're crazy, I can block them if they threaten me or something like that. So, we have the technology to at least say, okay, well, yeah, you're nutty, and I'm gonna, I'll still talk to you because sometimes it's just, it's fun. I love people. Because and that's one thing around the world I love that when I've been, there's so many characters around the world in the States, different beliefs. And so that's why this whole, you got to believe 100%, you're a Republican and you believe in 100%. And I'll probably make some of them mad. I probably don't agree with 100%. I agree with most everything. And I think our core beliefs are the same. But once again, if people, this whole you believe this way, or I hate you, or I will cancel you, or anything else, is one of the biggest things in our country that scares me. It scares me for my kids. We can't live this way. You can't, where if I disagree with you, I want to destroy you. And I don't like politicians like that. So I think that's a bad quality to have. You need to have that person who can speak to everybody and have actually a good conversation, not a shouting conversation with somebody who disagrees with you. And then be respectful. I don't necessarily agree with your opinion, and I can kind of see why you're there, but I just don't believe it because of this. But I don't hate you either. I mean, now if you said something about my family or, stabbed me or something, of course, I probably wouldn't like you that much. Yeah, probably not. But I mean, the stuff that we need to talk about, I think at the end of the day, we most of the people I've talked to believe in the same end goal, but we have very different ways of getting there, and I think that's life. That's, we are all different and we are all characters in our own way. And so I think that those people that try to say, this is the only way and this is the way you're going to do it, I think they kind of forget what the country's about, which is, the freedoms we have to, as long as we obviously aren't hurting others and doing bad things or things against the law, we have so much opportunity in different ways and different methods to get to the same goal. And, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness kind of thing. I think people forget that, the First Amendment stuff. And I don't know, right now I just see stuff being trampled all over. and I see people, a lot of politicians that get that very narrow lane, one mindset, we're winners, you're losers. And I just don't like that. So I think the opposite of those bad qualities is what I find in myself, I believe, is good qualities. And once again, if I get that way, I'll throw that out there again. I want people to smack me upside the back of my head and say,
well, I wouldn't say to give people the
that's
opportunity
all right.
to physically harm you.
Hey, you know what? Back in my day when you got paddled in school and that, and I probably deserved it when that happened. I'll just say this, okay, to my mom and my family, my close friends, you can smack me upside the back of the head. Everybody else, just call me out, give me a call and say, why did you do this? And maybe I was asked a question one time when I was interviewing with a group that said, what are you going to do if you and your constituents totally disagree on a law you're voting on? And I said, well, first of all, knowing my constituents, having grown up there and knowing a tremendous amount of the people, if we don't agree on something, there's probably some huge disconnect. And so I'm not going to just say, well, screw you, I'm going to vote, I'm pushing the button this way. I'll probably I will go to my constituents and say, obviously I think we got to have a disconnect. What do you believe and what do I believe and what are the facts and where are we different from this? So I would go back to the people. I still, a lot of people say, well, they vote you in to have a better judgment. No, I represent the people. And once again, I love the area I'm in. I'm back there because I love the values of my town. I love the people of my town and the surrounding areas. I grew up with those farm people that, when I was in Bargersville, from Mooresville, I had a lot of family in Bargersville and Franklin and stuff. And some old farmers or aunts or uncles, when you did something wrong there, some of them were allowed to spank you or they just, call back. But, they taught you to look each other in the eye and have a handshake and mean what you say, and a promise is a promise and all that kind of stuff. I love this area. And I know things are changing, but the core of that belief is still in the area I represent. And so I can't see myself being too far off from that. And so I guess the answer is, when I said him, I would actually go and once again talk to the people, figure out why they believe that. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't have all the facts. Maybe they're wrong. I don't know, but I think we can figure that out. And that's, once again, I'm not going to go up to any place and say, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you. That's what we have, what's wrong, I think, with DC right now. You will live this way. We will trample all over your rights because you're little children and we'll tell you what to do. And that alone disgusts me because, I'm a big 10th Amendment guy. And I've said that to people and they're like, oh, you shouldn't say that because people don't know what the 10th Amendment is. And I said, well, maybe they'll look it up. It's 3 basic sentences, but basically those powers not given to the federal government by the Constitution are left to the citizens in the states. And how many organizations have been created in D.C. and all this that are unconstitutional? And when you say things like that to people, and I'll probably get a lot of heat, and not that they're a bad organization, not that they're bad people, but you look at something like Department of Education. That is an unconstitutional organization. That's state stuff. And so I'm a huge states' rights guy. And I know we kind of diverged off the original question.
No, it's perfectly fine.
That's where it's led to, yeah.
So you've got to get going here in a few minutes, but I do have 2 more questions.
Okay.
One of them you kind of already answered, but you were talking about getting together with politicians that you have had disagreements with either a policy or law that you guys are going to try to pass for the state. With you being in the military and having like team building exercises and being able to speak with other people that disagree with you, what type of exercises did you learn while in the military that you think you'll use if you win this spot for the representative's position?
One of the things that they taught us, and it was part of, it was in those Marine officers out there, it's called SULE, Small Unit Leadership Evaluation Training. We had SULE 1 and 2, and they would give you a task, and it was like, okay, there's usually 4 of you representing a fire team, and here's tools that you have. Here's a stick, here's a box, here's a rope, here's obstacles. You can't touch this. You have to do this. And they'd put one guy in charge. And by the same time, you'd have distractions. And they wanted to see, with 4 strong-minded personalities who all had different ideas of how to accomplish something, with distractions going on, how would you handle that? And I thought, and that's a very simplistic training from the outside when you look at it. But I think it was great because what it taught us is how to work with people with strong personalities, how it taught us to compromise and sometimes to get to the same goal. If their way would probably work as good as yours, then go ahead and say, okay, we'll try that. We'll put your board here and tie that rope there. And then also ignoring the distractions that are all around you. And we actually would bring in I know some small groups, I think Boy Scout groups and some other groups would use those. And we even brought in, I think they've modeled some business development, growth, whatever those organizations bring in, have used that model because as simplistic as that sounds, it really sets a foundation for accomplishing a task, working with others that you may have different ideas, and not listening to the distractions, in our case, explosions, stuff like that around us. But the same kind of thing. And that's what they taught us back in the day. How do you function during what we call the fog of war? Bad stuff, plan changes, this blows up, somebody dies next to you, whatever. But that same stuff on a less kind of dangerous level is going on. You have people on social media screaming at you. You have people down there. You have protesters. You have, you're tired. You have family members. Where are you, Dad? All this kind of stuff. So all those that I would call it the fog of war, you still have to think straight, find out what's important, work with those, and compromise to get to your end goal. Never compromise what you believe, because the end goal, you have to stick true to that. But I truly believe what we learned. And I try and not keep falling back on the Marine Corps thing, but we kind of were taught a decentralized command thing where we weren't micromanaging anybody. We called it commander's intent. This is our goal, commander's intent. You're my people. I trust you. Here's your tools. Here's your lanes to stay between. And then there's a million different ways to get there. But I trust you to get there. And so that way everybody plays a part. They can be creative. We trust them. And you provide that leadership and guidance along the way. But I think it's a good way to do that instead of trying to just, as we would also say, not get all up into their chili and let them be creative. These are terms that I'll use these terms sometimes and people are, what does that mean? I forget. That's how I talked for a very long time. So I can't say everything I used to say in the Marine Corps, but anyway, that's some of the lessons I think I've learned that I could apply.
Man, I want to do. It seems like you've got a lot of, obviously with you being in the military for so long, a lot of knowledge on leadership and team building, which is something huge and where I work at. So I want to definitely talk to you more about leadership. But one last question before you got to go, and we'll keep it just under a couple minutes, is who has been the biggest role model in your life?
You're going to get me emotional on this one.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I would say one of the biggest role models has been my dad. Because from the moment I was young, I have those very strong memories how he was just a teaching father, a disciplined father, which, once again, it didn't, at the time, I wasn't real happy with probably the discipline I received. But I never looked back and said I didn't deserve that or I didn't learn something from it. So he was there for us as kids, but he was there for us as a father and a husband. I saw how he treated my mom and how he took care of us and how he dealt with a lot of adversity as far as, because he did a lot of entrepreneurial stuff. His company that he started, it will be 50 years old next year. And that is, I've seen that go through ups and downs and ups and downs. I saw how he handled when the market went down and, he took a pay cut with everybody else, and then he, when they were successful, he rewarded all those employees again. I usually go, I couldn't this year, but to their annual Christmas party where they're giving out those awards of, you've been here 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, and you don't see that a lot anymore in companies. People jump around, and I think that says a lot that he has such long-term employees. And so I've just seen him help people behind the scenes, how he gives me advice. I talk to my dad probably almost every day to this day. He's 79, and I'm still learning from him. I still seek advice from him. So anyway, not to get too, I love my dad. I love my mom. Love you too, Mom. Learned a lot from you, but in case you're listening, I don't want to. But now I still seek counsel and realize I'm never too old to ask somebody with more experience and listen to them and learn. And he's done a great job doing that.
What business is it that does he own?
It's called Haggard and Stocking Associates. It's an industrial tooling company, industrial tooling, aviation, MRO supplies, stuff like that. It's up around the Beech Grove area, and he's in a couple different states and has grown. It's I can't remember the exact amount, 110, 120 people work for him. So
That is so cool.
yeah.
Wow. Well, Craig, I know you got to get going to lunch, but I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your morning and coming and talk to me. Is there anything that you want to tell the citizens in your area, in your district, that hopefully are listening to this?
I just want to say, thanks for, number one, to all the people that are helping. So many people have sent emails or calls or stopped me on the street or physically helping me with just so many aspects of the campaign. And that alone just humbles me. People that don't even know me. And so thank you to everyone. Thanks for having me on here today. Thanks for, my family, because they put up with a lot and they're out there. Friends I've had for a long time, just all the positive. It is kind of emotionally overwhelming when you see the people that come out and help you. And also, if you do see me, go ahead and stop me or send me a note. I want to learn, and if I get in, I'm not going to stop talking to folks. I want to have meet and greets. I just need to learn. I need to know what the issues are, and I could talk probably another hour on the business I've talked to with their issues, and I'm learning so much. And that's the one thing I've found in life. No matter what I do, there's still more to learn. It's almost like golf. You're never going to master golf, right? You're going to continue to learn. And by the way, I'm not good at golf. If it gets in the air and I see blue sky, I'm excited. It may be going the wrong way, but hey, at least it's in the air. But I'm always going to learn, and I'm going to always enjoy the process of getting to know people and what their concerns are. So that's just me. So that's what I want you to know. I think I do have the experience to make the right decisions. I obviously have fought literally and physically in combat and with the NRA and leadership positions, and I've made those tough decisions and disagreed with people and maintained friendships with those same people. So that's who you're going to get. I think a real person that will listen, will admit when he's wrong, and that has those core values and has lived those values. So that's and at the end of the day, I want your vote, because I can't get there without your vote and your support. And that's all, I guess. Not that it sound like Forrest Gump. That's all I got to say about that. But now I'm very humbled with that, and I'm excited to get May 3rd over with. Hopefully, God willing, win. And if I'm blessed to win the primary, get moving forward with learning what hopefully I can maybe want to push as my first bill or second bill in the first year at the State House. So I want to get moving to start working for Indiana is what I really want to get to. But I know we have to win first. So to start off with, I need your vote. So that's it.
Craig, that was a great way to end it. I really do appreciate you coming on, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks.
There you have it, folks. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode with Craig Haggard. I know I did. So think about who you're going to be voting for in this upcoming election for state rep for District 57. Also, if you guys are wanting to find out more information about Craig, just reach out to him on Facebook, and you'll be able to contact him through there. And also, if you want to know a little bit more about the show, or follow me on Instagram or Facebook, it's More with Stumpo or More with Stumpo Podcast. Go ahead and give me a follow. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple, whichever platform you're listening on, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or that follow button. It helps me and lets me know that you're enjoying the content that I'm making, and I can keep making more of it. So I hope you guys have a great day, and God bless you.